Meanwhile, the world media has been quoting the Russian president over the past 2 days, the Nord Stream 2 issue, his analysis of the situation around the U.S. dollar, relations with President Donald Trump, a telephone scandal over the U.S. and Ukrainian presidents' conversations, serious talks and jokes about interfering in the new U.S. elections, all that at the Russian Energy Week Forum in Moscow, plus a big day of politics at the Valdai Club in Sochi. On Thursday, the main theme there has been the growing influence of the East on the world order. Well, Yulia Shapovalova reports on the latest from Moscow.
According to President Putin, Russia is open to serious cooperation in the field of energy, and it is a responsible market participant. Putin is convinced that attempts to hinder construction of the Nord Stream 2 underwater gas pipeline from Russia to Germany are just unfair competition. The United States would like Europe to buy expensive American liquefied gas instead of the cheap Russian alternative, and it influences other countries to interfere with the construction. Denmark, for example, still has not issued permission to lay pipes through its territorial waters.
The United States, unfortunately, has always been against our energy cooperation with Europe. Here is former German Chancellor Mr. Schröder sitting opposite me. He knows that during the construction of the Nord Stream 1 project, it was all the same as now. The United States was categorically against it, mobilized all forces in Europe and in Germany itself so that the project was not implemented. But we did it. Now everyone is happy that it works so reliably, stably. Now the same thing is happening with the Nord Stream 2. They talked about Denmark. Denmark is a small country. It is under great pressure. It depends on whether it can show its independence and show whether it has sovereignty or not. If not, there are other routes. It will be more expensive and push us back a little bit, but the project, I think, will be implemented.
Now, the Nord Stream 2 is already 80% complete. For obvious reasons, Ukraine is opposing the new gas pipeline along the bottom of the Baltic Sea. After its construction, it will lose a significant share of its gas transit, although, according to the Russian president, the transit may still be preserved.
Ukraine is trying to implement the energy legislation of Europe, and if it can do that before the end of the year, we'll be ready to work within the framework of the European law and sign a transit agreement with Ukraine in accordance with the European law.
Attempts to use the dollar as a political weapon against countries are no more beneficial to the Americans. According to Putin, the US itself is undermining the position of its currency.
The dollar has enjoyed great trust around the world. It used to be almost the only universal currency in the world. For some reason, the United States began to use dollar payments as a political tool and introduced restrictions on the use of the dollar. With their own hands, they began to saw the branch on which they were sitting. But soon, they can crash.
A recent scandal over telephone calls between Donald Trump and the Ukrainian President Zelensky was also discussed. Attempts to use that conversation as a reason for Trump's impeachment led the White House to publish a transcript of their talk. But Putin said he was ready if all of his conversations with world leaders were to be published. And finally, a big day of politics in Sochi. On Thursday, October 3rd, the main meeting of the Valdai Discussion Club took place, in which Vladimir Putin also participated, as well as the presidents of Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan and the Philippines, and the King of Jordan. The main theme was the growing influence of the East on the world order, as well as the development of cooperation in Eurasia and the Asia-Pacific region. According to Putin, economic cooperation is a foundation for relations with Asia.
How to avoid conflicts, maintain peace and boost development and cooperation in this vast multicultural region was also discussed. Here's what the Russian leader had to emphasize.
We propose to put aside all pent-up preconceptions, mutual pretensions, and in fact try to create from scratch the Organization for Security and Cooperation in the Persian Gulf, to which, aside from Gulf states, actors like China, Russia, the US, EU, India and others could join as observers. For decades, US presidents ignored North Korea, perceived it as an outlaw. Donald Trump has managed to make a historic step to tide over that line of misunderstanding and estrangement. He met with Kim Jong-un and started the negotiation process.
Сегодня пришло время поговорить о глобальном.
The time has come to talk about the global concert of development models, interests, cultures and traditions, where the sounding of each instrument is vital, irreplaceable and valuable, and so that music would be played without falsity. For it to sound with harmony, it is important to take into consideration opinions of every participant of international life.
Yulia, Shapovalova for the news of Rick Sanchez.
So you haven't heard that we're the ones covering the stories that you won't see covered anywhere else? In Venezuela, Kazakhstan, let's go to Hong Kong. And the media reaction to that has been crickets. How about the way we cover those stories? What the hell does that mean? Huawei, Huawei, Huawei. That's the key word in this case, uprising. Keep? Can you believe that? Watching. This is the right thing for members of the media to do, to actually pick sides. Look, if you like what you see, subscribe.